background and me thundering forth on the wild steed of emergent manhood. But I think this child was not that child. Obscuring as he was his breasts by tucking his hands into his armpits, and having never even made love to himself yet, was not really a candidate for much, besides the chill of a minor shame that he would forget for 15 years. One of what would prove to be many such shames, stitched together like a quilt, with all its just legible patterning, which could be a thing heavy and warm to be buried in, or instead might be held up to the light where we see the threads barely holding. So human and frail, so beautiful and sad and small from this remove.
Q&A. Somebody like to volunteer a question?
Before you were ever published, what is advice that you wish you had been given, or alternatively, are grateful that you were given?
Yeah. This is approximately like an answer. I was really lucky to be find myself in these writing communities before I was published. So school or people around school, people who were like building things, magazines or reading series and stuff like that. And on account of that, I got poems published. I got to read, I got poems published because people heard me read, and they're like, oh, okay, there's a good poem, maybe, let's see it. But part of being in those communities was like this kind of reciprocal thing. It was being in a community, So there was a way, it feels very important to know, for me, in my own experience, that my sort of celebrating and shouting out and cheering other people's events, stuff, publications and all that, very much coincided. It was just like, it was all of us, good things, nice things were happening for all of us. So that's my way of saying, like, it feels like being in a community is vital. It's just, that feels like it was so important. And I suppose the only thing I would say is that, know that that's a thing that you need to do. I felt lucky because I kind of fell into it. But I think I probably had people tell me to do that. I know I did. That's the answer. I had people tell me to do that. Yeah, you are. Yeah.
When you were writing your essays, did you ever, I want to know kind of the process. So what I'm wondering, if you would write it and then set it down and move on to the next one, or revise it?
Great question. Because those essays are a little bit different than things that I've written before. So first of all, I gave myself these 3 rules. I had to do it every day. I had to write them by hand, and I had to write them in 30 minutes or less. And 30 minutes or less was because if I was just trying to write good essays every day, I would stop after day 3. So 30 minutes was like, we're just playing, let's see what happens. In the first month of writing them, I was acting like I write my poems. So I write my poems and I'm immediately like revising them. I'm changing the lines. I'm trying to get the music different and all that. With these essays, I was doing that and I realized I was really fucking them up. I was just chewing them up. I was trying to make them like really good in the way that I thought of essays being really good. And I was ruining them. And it took me like a month of that. I was doing it and I was like, oh no, I'm killing these things. Let me go back and let them sit for a while and then learn how they need to be heard. And one of the ways I realized this, one of the ways that I did that was by reading them out loud when they were rough. So kind of like those little plays. I'd be reading them out loud and I could kind of hear them better by hearing other people hear them. So that's to say, that's how I learned how to revise them. And then once I figured that out, I could revise them a little bit more quickly, but I would almost always let them be heard out loud before revising them. And I revise a lot. that's something I love to do. I can revise forever. Put me in a room and let me revise forever, and I never need to watch YouTube with Allen Iverson ever again. Yeah.
Do you ever find it hard sharing so much of yourself?
No, I think what it feels like not shareable, I don't share. Yeah. But that's a great question. It's a really important question. I think it's like a more and more and more important question the further along we get in a kind of like a, maybe you'd say a hyper sharing, but I would also say like a hyper surveillance culture where everything about you is known and needed. You know what I mean? So there's privacy is like a legit thing, a crucial and beautiful thing. And it feels like having some kind of whatever, like just a thoughtfulness about how much of this, how much do I want to actually share? You know, no one has to say anything to anyone. Yeah.
So how do you?
Great question. Thank you.
How do you feel when you're like writing your poems and essays? Because like musicians feel like a movement through their body, soul per se, when they're writing their songs. And sorry, she's really.
Are you all musicians? Is that?
Oh no, I'm not a musician. We're with Corey.
Okay. Yes.
And I was just saying, is it the same thing? Like you feel something when you're writing your poems, because those are very, very touchy and like, I guess, sensitive topics.
Yeah. I mean, like a thing that I realized recently I feel, and I think this might be a kind of emerging feeling, but it is a little bit like, I know, for instance, I'm writing about a beloved of mine who committed suicide like 7 or 8 months, no, coming up on 9 months ago. And one is that I feel so like, I'm just realizing, oh, it feels so nice to go back to see him. That's part of it. But partly, because I've been doing this long enough, I know that one of the reasons I do it is that what feels familiar to me when I write it becomes unfamiliar. So I learn, that's called learning actually. I learn all these things again and again. And I'll think I have a familiarity or a recognition or an understanding of an event or an interaction or a relationship, and I encounter it again and I'm like, oh, I didn't know. So the excitement of going down to sit down to work on something is a little bit of like, I wonder what I'm going to learn today. And not like I wonder what I'm going to learn today, like about, you know, technology or something, you know, like a fact. It's like, I wonder, you said the word soul. I wonder what I'm going to learn that's going to like illuminate my soul. You know, maybe make my soul big enough to bigger. You know what I mean? Yeah.
What has been the greatest or like most fulfilling part of your career?
This stuff, I love this stuff. Yeah, I mean, I felt very lucky to have written some things that people have been cared about, and that's been the luckiest thing. You know, I remember having that experience of having someone say something very, you know, just sweet and moving and grateful, and I felt like, oh, that was so nice. How lucky was that? Yeah. Yeah.
Do you, when you're writing something, do you ever go back and rewrite it to make it better? And if so, at what point is it good enough?
That's almost all I do. Almost all I do is rewrite to make it better, you know. The good enough, that's a great question. The good, and it kind of connects to this, like your question back there. The good enough to me is, I mean, I basically have a thing where I want to approach, I have questions. So everything that I write, for the most part, I write with a question. I might not yet know what the question is, but I have a question. And so for instance, I'm writing a book right now called Why I Garden. It's just all garden essays. And I'm like, the essay that I'm messing with 2 essays right now. One of them is all about like these blue or purple potatoes. I can't remember. I don't know if they're blue or purple. Purple, someone said?
I can't remember what they're called.
Yeah.
No, these are potatoes. They're regular potatoes, but they're sweet. Whatever these are, they're not sweet potatoes. They're potatoes that are sweet. And I realized that I was like thinking about these potatoes, or every time I eat the potato, this is a really digressive answer. Every time I eat the potato, I'd be like, holy shit, it's sweet. And then I'd eat it again, and I'd be like, wait, it's sweet. I'd make my partner like have a bite, whether or not she wanted to. And she'd be like, yeah, it's sweet. You know? And again and again and again. And there was like, I was like, oh, so I was doing this for like months, and it was sort of like, oh, all right, like, what am I trying to get at? Am I just like talking about how delicious this thing is? And then I was like, no, I think there's some relationship between beauty and doubt. Like things that we find astonishingly beautiful, there's some element of doubt, like, and the doubt might be something like, how is this possible? Or is it so? And it might incline us not only to like sniff the magnolia leaf like 5 times, you know, bullshit. You know, but it might also, it makes us want to verify it with other people, called sharing. Come here, smell this, smell this. That is kind of the mode of, that is what I'm hoping for in writing these essays. Like, okay, yeah, so right now I think something's just so delicious. And then eventually I'm like, no, it's actually, this is this whole kind of treatise on beauty. Now, how do I get it done to be like, I don't know. I'm stuck on that essay, so I have no idea right now. But the movement is something like to really have my question transformed in the process of thinking about it. Does that make sense? Yeah. Great question. Yeah.
Two, and the first one's super important, which is, have you read the plays out loud to your dog? Or is this for, like, just for you?
I don't think so. Great question. You'd be a good audience, though.
The other one is the book-length poem. Did you sit down and say, I'm going to write a book-length poem about this one move, or did you just start to write like you would any other poem, and it started to really kind of get away from you, and you're like, I like this. I'm going to see how long this goes.
Sort of more like that, yeah. When I started it, kind of quickly was like, I mean, when I started, I was writing a little bit, and then I was like, oh, this might have to go on for a while. Yeah. Have you had experience writing long poems? Or?
Yeah, but like I'm so bad at predicting what I'm going to do. So yeah. Like macrocosmic is that kind of your process. Like you start writing and see what happens, or like because the essay was like almost like a dare, a challenge. Right? Like, we're going to do this every day. Do you find yourself setting yourself up with challenges, or just kind of writing and see what happens, or both?
I mean, sometimes I do like I found myself liking a form to kind of tussle with, so like a challenge. But mostly, I enter the thing and sort of see what's going to happen. I learn from the thing what it wants to be. You know? That's mainly my experience. And when I try to impose my thing, it just doesn't work. It's not going to be. And I kind of like don't feel good. Yeah.
My question was also about your dog. What has your dog taught you about joy, and how does it inform your writing? Obviously, it's shown up.
Whoa, good question. So he just showed up like 3 months ago. 4 months ago. Oh man, let me read. It's basically like a person's kissing his dog like 1,000 times. And the person says, does it start to feel kind of molesty? And the dog says, yeah, kind of. And the person's like, oh, my bad, I'm sorry. And the dog goes, no, I like it. But, I mean, one thing is like, what everyone says about dogs is that they're just like glad to see you and all that stuff. That's really lovely and beautiful. But there is something about like, I don't know how to answer that question yet. I'm not a parent, you know, I have stepkids, but I'm not a parent like that. You know, that feeling of like, you know, this dog, he hurt his leg the day, and I was just like, and he was crying. He's a pit bull. I understand pit bulls are babies, and he was like hurt. I don't know what he did. Hurt his hand, foot, paw. And he was like, I mean, he's really crying, and I was like, oh my God, what? And I remember my mom, when I broke my foot, watching me get my foot casted and like crunched a little bit back into place. And I remember watching her at the doorway of the thing crying. And I remember I was like, oh, I feel like that, you know? And then I also feel like this other side of it, it's like, yo, stop crying. Like, that's a play I gotta write. But how has it influenced my writing? I mean, I feel a little bit like writing these little plays. You know, I am like always like walking with him and be like, oh, I wonder what he's thinking right now. Yeah.
When it comes to your books, if there is a takeaway you want the reader to have, what is it?
I don't have it. Yeah, it's a good question. It took me a little while to realize that, but it's more like I think it's more like I have a set of questions that I'm hoping to offer to someone, and in a way to offer it to their set of questions. Like I understand now that a book like the Book of Delights, which is really about studying what you love, in a way, studying and sharing what you love. I understand to some extent what some of the takeaway is now, and some of that takeaway might be like it might incline